Kodai TCR. Um, Really cool PCB you got here. More of a button box add-on. We're gonna actually add it to back onto my SRB wheel rim. I had this wheel rim on my GTB Pro, um, and I was going to actually sell it to a person who wanted it, but then realized, wait a minute, I should keep it. And just so lucky that I am that Lewis from Kodai sent this to me. So you're going to join me as we put it together. I typically live stream these, but we're going to do it a little different today. So, and I'll let you see all the mistakes and stuff that I make behind the scenes. But the first thing we're going to do is really just try and get some stuff prepped. We'll solder on screen today. You guys typically don't want to see it on the live stream, but hey, this is my build. I have nobody on with me right now, so hopefully this won't be a rather long time. What we're first going to do is pop the pins out to make it match. I always recommend when doing a build or any DIY, just make the colors match on any of the cables. And I say that because when you have to go back in case you ever mess up, you want the cable colors to match just the standard, black being ground, red being voltage, green or yellow being positive, and then white being negative. It makes your life easy. I'm just flipping up the little tabs that are on here so that I can pop them in. And what I typically do is line up these 4 pins to match the alignment there, and then I pop these back in like so. So ground being here, and then the next thing we're going to do is positive, which is always, again, yellow or green. It makes, again, life easy to troubleshoot in case you make a mistake in the future. So we're going to pop each one of these up and get these put back on. And again, like I said, we're going to do the whole build here today recorded. Hopefully you guys like this. You'll let me know what you think moving forward. I like doing them live because I like having people along with me. But if you know, I get distracted quite easily. My guys are always, helping me, which is great. But this one came in, and as soon as I got it, I was like, oh man, let's go. So I couldn't even get a thumbnail up, and I knew this was coming either today or tomorrow. And I thought about getting it up, pause, getting the live stream thumbnail ready. So when the wheel is done, I could get with you guys and you guys can watch me do this. But again, as I said, we're going to go ahead and get this installed. And like I said, you'll see all of the ugly and the nitty gritty. So let me move my camera for a sec. Sorry about that. I do apologize, but it's back in focus. So yeah, I think we're good there. So let's go ahead and get out the soldering station. This little soldering Omnifixo is absolutely awesome. It's great at just holding things and getting things ready so that you can solder up things really quickly. So what we're going to solder up is to a 4-pin WAPU connector. Again, I always recommend these. I think these are significantly better than what you can get from those cheap GX12s, or even the ones you screw in. Obviously, you can go higher end with them, as we see a lot of wheel brands do. But being able to just pop this on and pop it off, like I do wish in the future, and maybe it's a recommendation I'll say now, it'd be nice if a lot of the different DIYs, instead of using GX12s, can we use GX16s? Because they're just wider in gauge. One, they're a little bit easier to solder. Two, they seem to be what people use on the higher end brand wheels. And I think it'd be great to bring that to the DIY scene as well. But again, it's not here nor there because I have a ton of these WAPU connectors. And I love using them. And then with the new QR from VRS, it makes it easier to run power and data, connecting it here. I was going to change all of my wheels over and use the 5-pin connector that's inside. But that requires more work, and I want to make it universal so that I can just use any wheel with these as I move forward and not have them wired directly to, and just have a shorter cable. So this way I can still use power and data and it's nice and clean. So you can do DIY with it, and I definitely recommend for those of you who want. As you guys know, I ran the Dan Suzuki QR, and I did that with each and every one of them. But I kind of like the cable, the short cable, so either way really works. You know what I mean? If I had to have one or the other, I'd have either one. Not a big deal at the end of the day for me. So let's go ahead and get this all ready to be soldered up. We're just going to add some solder here. So I can just easily wire it up. And what I'm going to do is use the same standard color scheme that I use on all of my wheels so that any of my cables are interchangeable. So typically what I do is black, red, white, green. So for 1, 2, 3, 4. But I'm going to validate that really quickly because I always want to be safe. And I'm one of those kind of guys that I've made so many mistakes. I don't want to fry a wheel. So what we're going to do is we're going to just take this one that I already made for all of my other wheels. So I have two of these that I can connect to any wheel. So what I'm going to do is just going to hold the top and unscrew. Please be careful doing this because you can rip the solders off. We're going to look here at 1, 2, 3, and 4. Make sure that I always did it correctly. Yep. So 1 is black, 2 is red, 3 is white. Yeah, black, red, white, green. See? Makes life easy. We're going to hold this in place, keeping this loose so we don't twist the cable on the bottom. And then we're going to tighten this one back up. So remember that. Black, red, white, green. I'm going to put that back over there. All right, well, let's get to soldering. So we're going to look at the numbers that are on here. I'm going to get this aligned perfectly. Let's see. So 1 is top right here. And if you ever want to know, let's see if it'll show it. If we zoom in, you can see the numbers on there. Just follow the number guidelines. I'd say, again, always pick one pattern that you're going to use for all of your stuff and make your life easy in the future. So what we're going to also do is, again, pause this so I can get something. All right, so I just had to grab some heat shields here. Make my life easy. Because we always want to protect anything we can. Because you don't want wires to touch or cross or anything like that. Once they do, you can really damage or destroy a PCB. Trust me when I say I know this myself. So we want to avoid that at all costs. So we're going to put some heat shields around them. So once we get the connections done, we'll go ahead and turn on the heat gun and get these to protect those connections. Okay, easy peasy, lemon squeezy. So black first. We got red. Let me clean this off. Let's try this again. These tips go bad so quick. Okay, black. Let's do red. Let's insert it into the nice good connection. Gonna rotate it. 3 is white. Okay. And this would be green and or yellow. Gonna have to replace this tip here. Yeah, thank God I have a ton of these things. Just can never have enough. And I think it's because one day I was soldering a ton and left it on for a bit. So let's go ahead and, again, all these connections are good and clean. We're gonna solder these up or heat them up. Then we're going to take that same USB connection cable, and I always recommend testing because testing the PCB will make your life easy. And I'm going to take this connection, connect it directly to our already soldered USB cable. As you can see, we've got a green light, we've got lights, we've got action, and that's a great thing. We've tested it. Now, what I always recommend also is, going ahead and pulling up SimHub. By pulling up SimHub, what it allows you to do, not only do you get lights on here, but once you pull up SimHub, you can test to make sure the buttons click and move on the controller itself. So I'm getting SimHub loaded up now. Okay. And let's go ahead and show you the desktop, as you can see here. So again, I just simply go to controllers. We'll see this new Kodai here. Now, if I push a button, we should see when it's pressed and released. Yep. Rotate, push, rotate, push, and so forth. See? Easy. Easy peasy. Again, lemon squeezy. Let's go ahead and turn off the desktop. We're going to disconnect this connection here from the test. And again, because I have two cables, that's solid. I also have a short cable that I use to connect all of the wheels to the VRS QR. So take that off. Now that that's good, we're going to move that over to the side for just a second. We're going to take, oh, good Lord. These are some really awesome shifters. And I say that because one, because the magnet, and I have to stress this a lot, the magnet that he uses at Kodai, he uses the 15 by 5s. They're so much bigger than the smaller ones. You have more contact area, and they're so strong that shifting these is significantly stronger than the alternatives that I've seen. So again, I think this is really cool, and I highly recommend these shifters if you're going to use some for your DIY project. I think they're just really freaking awesome. And again, it allows you to get a really strong pull. And as with anything, they'll work with just about any DIY project that you have, unless you're using a Hall sensor as opposed to a micro switch. But if you're using one, like, I can highly recommend these. So, and you can see these are some really big micro switches as well. So you're always going to connect to close and normally open. You're not going to use normally closed on just about most shifters. So we're going to go ahead and get this all soldered on. And it's a really simple and easy part to do. But again, like I said, I'm going to work on doing it. This is so heavy. It just wants to tilt itself down. So let's see if we can get it to hold. by using both of these. And again, this is why I love this soldering kit. Thank you, Logan, for recommending me to this one. But yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and scroll down the directions because, again, I'm going out of order. Like I said, he was nice enough to provide me with a ton of the different parts. So it's not a really hard item to assemble. But like I said, we're going to go ahead and get this done. Let's put some, like I said, and this is closed and normally open. So let's add some solder to this. And I'll lay that down because it'll be easier. Okay. Here's one. There's two. We've got it soldered up. And again, you'll see, let's see if we can get it to focus. But if you can see, there you go. And it says C, no, and NC. Again, you'll use closed and normally open. I'm going to slide this down. Hopefully these fit over these connections. Awesome. We're going to do the same thing for the next one. Again, always validate, check first before you start doing stuff. We're going to add some solder. Make sure we added enough. Yep. Okay, cool. I'm gonna clean the soldering iron. And see, I made the simple mistake. Oh, look, see that simple mistake. All right. Now we're going to put heat shields on it. See, and these are the mistakes you make when you get excited and don't pay attention to what you're doing. Okay. Okay, cool. We're going to go ahead and slide again. And with switches, it doesn't matter which color goes where. You just solder them together. You don't need to put black on black. You're good. You need to separate the colors. Again, be careful with the heat gun because this is MJF, which is 3D printed. So, you don't want to melt the wonderful 3D print that you have. So we're not going to keep the air concentrated on one specific point. I'm going to kind of move it back and forth and try to do it away from the 3D print as much as possible. So again, we don't damage the 3D printed part. Okay, so the next step we're going to do here is that's a lot, pretty much it for the soldering pieces that I can recall. Now we're going to do with some heat inserts. So let's get the directions pulled up here. So I've got some heat inserts here. We need 10 M2.5. Let's see, M2.5 by 4 diameter, which are these. We need how many? 10? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Wish you can hear what music is going on in my ear, but got the beat nuts on. Not sure if you guys know who that is, but good stuff, good stuff. So 10 M2.5s, make sure I got the right ones. And it's going to go in here. And we're going to let it heat up. I never push too hard. I always keep the tweezers to get it even. And then we're good to go. And I always say, just go with the small, I mean, you're going to put the smaller side first. And again, these are MJF prints. And MJF, if anybody has used them, knows they're absolutely awesome. Not that you can't go with ABS or any other type, but if you're able to get MJF, it definitely makes life so much cooler. All right, and we're going to keep inserting these in. Now, don't turn your soldering iron up too high, because then you can really do some damage. Let it just gently go in the insert, and then a little bit of pressure. Yeah, if you have it too high, and trust me, it'll just melt and it won't sit properly. And you'll be upset with yourself later after the build because you'll notice things don't fit the way you want them to. So we've got half done. Okay. 4 left. And when getting all the supplies you need from the bill of materials, the BOM file is what they're called, do know that I would recommend always buying extra. And we're going to put together a video that kind of explains DIY for beginners, because I think a lot of people have asked me, one, to do it. Two, a lot of people are interested in doing DIY wheels, and I do them on the side. So if you ever want a project done, full wheels with all of the build and stuff like that, I can do them for you on my web store, graysdynamics.com. You can see the fees there, depending on the type of build. If it's something really small, it's like 25 bucks. But those are usually really, really small projects that don't involve all of these steps. Most wheel projects are $100, and that includes pretty much all of the install, whether you have a wheel with a screen or not. You want me to attach QRs and do all kinds of soldering and updates and cables and things like that for Asetek and things like that. All of those things can be done, and it's not a hard thing to do. And they will be done if that's what you request, because I will always do my best to make sure the customer gets what they're requesting. So again, we're going to mount the front shell. It says on top of the PCB. So this is going to go here. And on the PCB itself, wow, that's something cool. I have not seen this on any PCB I have done to date, where the PCB itself has screws on it. That's really cool. Cool stuff there, Lewis. And Lewis, again, is the owner of Kodai. And like I said, he's been absolutely great to me You guys have no idea how lucky I am. Or maybe you do. Um, I get to, on the side, do this stuff for fun, um, talk to you guys and share my insights. You guys ask me a ton of questions, which I love. You know, I feel like I have some level of skill that may be useful to you all. Um, but yeah, like I think it's really great that I get the opportunity um, to help, you know, and bring awareness to these DIY brands that I think are so important. Everybody wants to go out and buy a ready-made wool, and that's a cool thing. I'm not going to say that you shouldn't. I am going to say by having these options, it makes things really cool because you get to build projects um, that you otherwise may not even take a chance at doing. Now we're going to grab the screw. I had to reach in my kit there and grab some stuff, so let's zoom in there and focus. So again, this is already has that's pretty cool. That is pretty cool. Wow. Like I said, I can't say that I've ever seen this. Something tells me that these screws I grabbed may be a tad bit too long, and I had an issue before with the screws being too long, and we don't want to run into that again. So I'm going to do a quick little measurement here. Make sure. Yep, these are the screws in question, and 2.5 by 8 millimeters. Again, that is so cool that they screwed directly into the PCB. Um, can't say, like I said, I've ever seen this necessarily on any DIY wheel where the PCB actually has its own tapped screw holes. Um, typically, you're screwing directly in to the actual enclosure. So the fact that let's see. Oh, see, look at that. Mount the front shell. Put these here. Okay, look. Gotta pay attention to direction. Sometimes I get ahead of myself. So we're gonna put that one there, that one there, that one there, and this one here. Then we're gonna take these diffusers that we have here. That's what goes there. Then we're gonna take a set of these diffusers and put them there. I'm gonna turn off. No, we're not gonna turn off that just yet. I may need to put some heat inserts somewhere else. So we're going to be careful about that. Then we're going to take these. Diffusers are on top. Let's put these lower diffusers on. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Cool. Diffusers are optional, but I don't see why you wouldn't. All right, let's start mounting the caps on. Let's note the orientation of the LEDs. Nice little click there. Go ahead and get these put on. Each side. So far, so good. Nice little click to it. Okay. So we're going to take these here. Nope, wrong way. There you go. Okay. Come on, Ray. All right. There we go. And then I need two M 2.5s by 12. Yep, I need four of them, actually, two each side. Okay. So we're going to take this. So cool. Screw directly into the PCB. Okay. All right. All right. Since we have MJF, we're good there. This little round little piece here is actually for the MJ or the SA12 or GX12. You just slide it on over there. Nice. So we're going to take and slide this on through. Okay. The 4-pin with the USB spacer to the rear enclosure. Okay. There's a little nut. Man, I don't know what playlist I'm listening to, but it is playing hits. All right. Now the good thing is I have these washers, so pause that for a second. I'll be right back. So I have these plumber's washers I was going to use for this, but it won't clear this little space right here. So again, if you're going to use a Waypool SA12, bear in mind you're going to have to likely tighten it by hand. I do have a set of little pliers here I can use, but again, not going to get in the little grooves, so we're just going to tighten it by hand. I think I'll be okay. Actually, I'm going to try and hold it with my hand. Just tighten this down. A twisting. That's actually working out quite well. All right. So we've got a Waypool connection here. We've tightened it down by hand. That's not going anywhere, at least for what we're going to be doing. So we're good there. All right. We're going to now connect the power connection here. And we're going to start closing up this enclosure. What I'm going to do, I'm going to heat up these cables just a little bit so I can get them to lay flat. Makes it a little easier if you use a little heat, but this way I can get them to lay flat. Because I want to be careful with where the wires sit. Yeah. There's a little space in here if you can see. I'm going to pull the wires through because you'll need to heat up the USB heat shrink and bend the wires slightly over to give clearance behind the front shell. Make sure not to pinch any wires. Of course, we'd never want to do that. We want to give just enough clearance so we don't pinch any. See if I can. There we go. So I just ran it behind, wrapped it around back here. Behind, it sits nice and flush and even. I think these screws, some of these screws are kind of long. I think I'm gonna get some shorter ones just to be safe, but let's first see how flush this fits. That sits flush there. Here we go. Actually, I thought the screws were going to be too long. Look at that. They're coming together. Looking pretty good. So far, so good. All right, so we fed the JSP cable through the hub cutout and closed the front shell into the enclosure. You'll need to heat up the heat shrink, then connect the USB. Okay, from behind the unit. Awesome, we've done that. Then we're gonna place both left and right. These little, as you can see, carbon fiber inserts. We're gonna place one on the left and one on the right. Ooh, looks good, looks good. Starting to come together. Look at that. Okay, so we're going to use some M2.5 by 16s, and these are going to be countersunk because they're on the front. So let's see, 2.5 by 16. You know, I rather love this kit. It doesn't tell me which one is which. And it has 16s, 18s, 16, 18s, and 20s. So by process of elimination, these should be, in theory, 16s. But we're going to measure because, you know, we don't want to damage the PCB or anything by going, yep. So now that we know, we're going to start inserting these. And again, this is a very simple build, very easy build that gives you a ton of versatility. Like I said, as we know, I can do DIY builds all day because I absolutely enjoy them. And I love all the cool creations that all the guys are coming out with from all the different companies. Look at that. It's starting to come together. I think it looks pretty cool, don't you think? Yeah, I think that's coming together pretty cool. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to flip this over this way. We're going to put these caps in here. This has really, really got me excited to bolt this to the SRB wheel rim. I feel like this is going to go perfectly with it. Okay. Make sure all the caps move freely. Okay. Place the mid plate. Now we're going to do this by flipping this over on top so that they don't fall out. We're going to test them by pushing them. Look at that. So cool, 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 cool. Okay. And then we're going to use some more M2.5s by 12s this time. So if these were 16s, it has 14s and 12s. So then by theory, these should be 12s. Looking good, man. Nice, cool project. And it's a simple one. It's a variation of something that you don't see many people have. And I'm a huge fan of that. You know, sim racing is all about being unique, having your own set of stuff. Like I know that some people want things that are exactly the same, but where's the fun in that? Cool. So we've got that assembled. Okay, next thing we're going to do is we're going to take these three rotary diffusers, and there's these little things here. And start to take off one. You get four of them typically. Um, I have tons of these for other wheels. So now the one thing that I despise is taking off this little piece of paper that's attached to these diffusers. Like, I will pay somebody to take these off for me. Um, I won't pay you a lot, but I would pay you. Okay, there's two. Just got to get one more. Just one more, right? Okay. Whew. All right. All right, we put those in. All right. I'm gonna dry fit this on top. Cool. All right, let's peel this off. And I will recommend be patient with these stickers when you put them on because you want it to lay as even as possible. I'm gonna try and get it in the center here. Boom, shakalaka, boom, 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 shakalaka, boom. Exciting. Excited. I'm so excited. I'm so excited. Okay. He was nice enough to include the grub screws. Let's see which size these are. Yep. So I'm going to take the extender. So I don't scratch anything. Ooh, those are nice. Coming together. Push, rotary, cool beans. Now I'm going to put some silver knobs on here. What do you think? I think that looks cool. You know what I mean? He has black ones that he sells in his store. I sell my own as well, so I would definitely recommend that you find the funky knob that you want, whether it's bright and colorful. Um, yeah, I might put purple on there at some point. I don't know. But the great thing is, I got options, pimps. I got options. It's a great thing about having your own business and having your own supply. But you can't get high off your own supply. So don't be using it all. You can't be out here just using all of the goodies. You know what I mean? So don't get high off your own supply. Make sure you sell far more than you keep for yourself. But yeah, let's go ahead and get a different. Money, power, respect. So true. First you get the money, then you get the power, then you get the respect. Yep. Oh man. Look at that. Look at that. Back is open and exposed, so you can make attachments for the shifters and clutches. I mean, 2 pins are your shifters, 3 pins are your clutches. He will and does will have a shifter plate as well. And again, you'll see quite a bit of items in his BOM file, of things that you can print. He'll have quite a bit in the shop as well. So, yeah, another awesome DIY project. Uh, let's see. Awesome. So the assembly is done there. And then we need M3 by 8. So pause, I'll be right back. All right, so let's get these screws off to the side. We're going to start attaching the shifters. Again, very easy to do. Let's go ahead and get the right nut job. And granted, we know I'm the right nut for this job, but that's not what we're talking about now. We'll kind of loosen them by hand first, or loosen them by hand. Right nut for the job, as I said. I like that. This is literally so far an hour in, and I'm practically done. And the cool thing about this is, again, you guys will get to see mistakes that I've made, as well as watch this in your own time. I promise future builds I'll still do live, but you know, like I said, this wasn't one I was going to do live myself. Maybe the next one. Let me see. Let's see where this aligns. Let's check it out. This is going through here. Nah. Let me make sure I got this right. Okay. Nope, I'm doing good. Let me check the directions. Make sure I wasn't doing anything wrong. Just realized I didn't get screws for the shifters, so I'll grab that after this. So you won't see me grabbing them, but you know. Be careful over tightening again. This is going into a an insert, but it is still 3D printed, so you don't want to over tighten. Okay. Nice, 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 nice. All right. Let's grab some more screws. All right. So let's get these shifters on. And as you can see, the shifters are slotted. Quite cool. And it's a great idea, as you can see there, because what it allows you to do is to move it forward and back, and you don't have to worry about it sliding or moving because it's notched. So, smart, smart, smart guy there, Lewis. This is why they're paying you the big bucks, my guy. But I'm gonna put it its furthest away, actually. And we'll just slightly screw it in, just so we get it lined up. And like I said, we can always adjust it, and they're slotted, so get a little bit of adjustment there, sliding it both forward and back. So if you do decide to extend it out further, bear in mind you're only using 2 screws, not all 4. So yeah, we're gonna probably can't hear that because of my noise cancellation. So yeah, that was kind of defeating the purpose. Yeah, like I said. Now that we see where, again, we can just slot these in. We can hold them here. Okay, cool, 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 cool. Okay, we got that done. Now, there are some spacers that he does provide, so you can pick and choose which one you want to use. We're going to choose my room here. Now, I drilled a hole in here because I was using it for power and data at the time, but I am no longer doing that. So what we're going to do is we're going to attach this here. We're going to put the spacer. Now let's see. How we're going to have it fit. Okay. So because this wheel rim for my SRB as we can see, I'm going to show you guys, it blocks it out here. So I'm going to have to use the front spacer to give me some space to clear the shifters. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay that down. I'm going to pop these in. So they sit pretty flush, but not flush enough that I can just put the wheel rim on the back without squishing some wires. Okay, so we take that little spacer that you can easily print. And actually, you pull this out. Let me see his recommendation just to be sure I am safe. A thin one there. Now, what I would say would be a good idea, and Lewis, think about this for a second. Have the prints have some cutouts along the side that are equal along the way, so that when I put this here, I can actually feed these wires in between this enclosure and this 3D printed piece. So this way, they're in the center where this opening is. Just a thought. Could be wrong, but it seems like it would be a good idea. But we're going to take this and pop this on here. Now we're not going to pinch the wires because that would not be a good idea. And I would definitely recommend when you do this project, make the wire shorter. I used longer wire because that's what I had on hand, and I could have cut the wire, not thinking. But I would definitely say use shorter wire so you don't have to worry about that issue like I am. So what I'm going to do is I have some screws here. I do want to make sure I have enough clearance to screw into my QR. So we're going to take one of these screws and I'm going to feed it through. Next, we're going to grab another one. And these are M5 by 45s. Now again, depending on what type of QR you're using, I'm going to okay. And for me, like I said, I'm going to be using my VRS wireless QR. I'm going to align this up to the top. Probably should get this ready. I'm fighting with it. I can have my drill ready. Screw directly into the QR. Okay, we're going to align it up properly. My QR is going to go. Okay, we're going to get it nice and tight. I'm going to take one more. Cool. Look at that. And there we go. We've got a wheel with shifters. And again, if you want more space in between, and it's cool that it says Kodai right there. If you want more space, you can always go with a much bigger spacer. And like I said, these wires, I will eventually trim these down so they're not nearly as long. Um, when you see me review the wheel, you'll see me trim it all down and get the wires looking all nice because again, that's just a little too long. But you know what? For now, I might even just zip tie these back here just to make my life even easier so that, you know what? It's not that big of a deal. Because at the end of the day, for me, I don't sometimes care about the major things. So, yeah, pretty cool. I like it. We'll get the wheel connected to my base and I'll get it up and running. And like I said, we'll talk about this later. But this, again, my good friends, ladies and gents, and subscribers and followers, is the Kodai wonderful TCR on my SRB rim with my VRS power and data connected QR. We'll use a short USB cable to connect to it and we'll be good to go. Thanks again. Talk to you later. Peace.